Welcome to the Life Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele VanDusen and June Colson. A couple of clean comedians here to support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. They'll talk about highs and lows and some traumatizing shows. So get ready, get set, let's go! All right, welcome to the Life Support Podcast, brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network. I am June Colson, here with my co-host and best friend, Michele VanDusen. Michele with one L. VanDusen. Oh my goodness, it's so good to see you. I feel like we haven't got to chat in a while. So, we got a lot to talk about today. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I know you've been on the road, so come on, share all the details. And I've got a couple of stories, but I think we'll probably do that on the next podcast.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just got back this week from going to the Clean Comedy Challenge in Greenwood, Indiana, and yeah, that was really cool. I think they originally had like 35 contestants registered, which was the biggest group of people, that she's ever had. And it may have boiled down to like 33 by the time that they did the event. And it was really cool because they divided it up into 2 different shows each night. So you saw like 15 comedians and then another 15 or whatever. And it was awesome. But I have to tell you, Michele, I pulled a Michele VanDusen.
Yeah. What did you do?
Okay, so Michele has a way of accidentally messing up people's names on occasion.
just a little.
And the winner was one of the few people that I didn't know. I knew a lot, from competing in it last year. I knew a lot of people that were competing this year, and then there were a lot of people that were just other comedians that I've done shows with and things like that. So I knew most everybody, with the exception of maybe probably less than 7 contestants. I didn't know them very well. And this was the one guy that I didn't know. And I remember them saying his last name. And I looked up on the board to find, because it was an odd last name. And I looked up on the board to find the odd last name. And the first name was Jordan. So afterwards, I went up and I was like, hey, man, congratulations, Jordan. Yeah, his name is Griffin. It's not even Jordan. It was Griffin. So
no, you didn't just mess up his name. You messed up his name while you were talking to him. 10 minutes, Jordan, that was really good job. Jordan.
Totally different name. But Griffin Shira, maybe Shire or Shira is his name. Young guy from Indiana, really good writer. Very original material. That's what I noticed was just, a lot of times we can have parallel thoughts and overlapping stories and those kind of things. But everything that he did was very specific to like weird jobs that he's had and his personal life. And I remember getting into comedy, a lot of people were like, you need to stick to your stories. I do a lot of stuff about my mom and dad, Hot Dog and Mo. And it would be really difficult for someone else to steal that material and talk about Hot Dog and Mo. That would be odd. But also it's just different. So if they've heard somebody talk about, family and marriage and, gaining weight, losing weight, all of those things. And then I come up and do similar things, it doesn't always make for the best show. So it was cool that he did a lot of stuff that was just very unique and specific to, he was like a janitor at a zoo. I do remember that much. And it was really funny material. So big congratulations to everybody who entered. They typically have like 4 or 5 finalists, but they brought up 11 and 11 did more time on the last night. I can tell you, I was probably in complete comedy overload by the time we got done with all of that. So that was really cool. And I know, Michele, there's a lot of people that were competing that you're friends with and that you're very supportive of.
There was a lot of talent on that show. A lot of talent. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So Griffin won, not Jordan. And I even text 2 people and I'm like, I'm physically here. I'm here at the event. And they're like, who won? And I'm like, some guy named Jordan. And they're like, Jordan who? And I was like, oh, no. Yeah, never mind. It wasn't a guy named Jordan. It was a guy named Griffin. So congratulations to Griffin. But yeah, so I did the Clean Comedy Challenge, hung out, watched that, did a church show with the folks after. David Pendleton was a surprise guest at the church that we went to. He didn't live very far at all from the church that we did the show at, and it was a fundraiser for missions to Haiti. And so that was really cool. And to get to see David pop in and bring Aunt Tilly and, do his thing. That was really awesome. So yeah.
For those that are listening, David Pendleton is a ventriloquist. So Aunt Tilly happens to be one of his dummies.
Yeah, that's good to clarify that. Yeah, he just brings out some elderly woman, his aunt, and he makes her sit on the stage. But there was that. Before that, I went to the LOL GCA.
Yes, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, Gospel Comedy Association. It was absolutely amazing. It was. I was beyond blessed by it. Was in Triangle, Virginia. I met some fantastic comedians. I competed. They did like a competition. Anybody who wanted to enter, you could. There was a small entry fee, and then whoever won got the money from everybody putting into the pot. And a gentleman named Jerry won, and he goes by Big Daddy Laugh a Lot, and he was awesome. I'm telling you, like, I remember when I looked up and saw that he was competing, I'd already seen him do a little bit of something, and he was a rock star. And I was like, Lord, oh Lord, please, Jesus, don't make me go after him. Don't make me go after Big Daddy, because I just knew he was going to do well. I'm telling you, Michele, like, people were falling out of their seats. Leslie Robb at one point jumped up and spun in circles. Leslie, who's been a guest on the show, a fellow comedian.
Okay, we need to have him on.
Oh my gosh, we
need to have Big Daddy on. Let's do it.
We definitely do. I'm telling you, after he was done, I was just looking to see if the bricks were still on the church. Like, he rocked that room that hard. It was wicked awesome. So super cool. Couple of, comedy trips that I've been on, feeling good about it. And speaking of the LOL GCA, somebody that I got to see there is actually our guest on the show today. Yeah. Michele, why don't you tell us who was on the podcast with us today?
All right. Our guest today is Jason Earls. He is more than a comedian. This man is a gifted storyteller, and he shares that gift through videos, blogs, comedy, GIFs. He's also a minister and a speaker, and he's highly sought after worldwide to teach on healthy families and marriages. And he qualifies because he has a wife. They've been married for over 20 years. They have 6 amazing kids, and together they do marriage workshops. He's also served as the Christian Comedy Association president. Jason's been featured on Focus on the Family, Trinity Broadcast Network. He was on the Kids Beach Club TV series. It's the Telly Award-winning one. I could go on and on and on. But here's the best thing that you need to know about Jason. Are you ready?
I'm
ready to hear the best thing? Okay. The best thing is that Jason, he's our friend. So let's welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast, Jason Earls.
All right. All right.
Yeah. What's up?
Jeez. So awesome.
I'm your friend, but you gave me a formal intro. It made me feel special. I'm like, who is this cat? Let me hear him. I need to hear this dude. What is he going to be talking about?
Seriously, Jason, no, like, for real, your accomplishments, your credentials, man, the way people just look up to you and respect you, and all the way from the comedy to your ministry in families, with the husband and wife. I'm trying to, I hear a little bit of feedback. I'm turning down a little bit.
Yeah, my name's Jordan, by the way, too.
Yes,
yeah,
Earls on the show. Thank you very much.
Jordan, Jason Earls.
I remember the first time I got when I won the Clean Comedy Challenge, they had something to say about me. When they introduced me, they're like, June Colson, the Clean Comedy Challenge winner of, Nashville's whatever, 2020. And I was like, because beforehand, they're like, hey, how do you want us to introduce you? And I'm like, Junebug. I don't want to make something up. But really, your list of accomplishments is extremely impressive. And I think, like, when you look at that, when you hear that, do you process like that God has allowed you to be involved in these things, to have so many accomplishments, or is it surreal? Do you feel like it's you that's being talked about?
Yo, it's for a person who's lacked confidence and about himself. And I know some people don't know that, but like what you see is the finished product of what God has done, or not the finished product, or just a sanctification process of what that looks like, of, you know, Jesus giving a brother some victory over it as I die to it daily. So yeah, I'm a little blown away when I hear it formally. I'm just like, wow, look at the stuff that God has done, because I know where I come from in terms of just wanting to do comedy, or just realizing I was funny. I can remember in 7th grade, just for the first time realizing, after having an older brother and being the youngest male in my generation, my family, of a bunch of accomplished guys, neurosurgeons, rocket scientists, all those guys. And then you got me, the last of the Mohicans. And it's just like, what am I good at? You know, I just been average at everything. But I realized, like, you know what, man, I'm stinking funny. Like, that's what I realized, that I was funny. And then fast forward to around 1997, 98, just being able to sitting in church, and they were talking about, there was a 1 month running thing called Occupy Till I Come, coming from Luke chapter 19. And it was the parable of the talents, or the mina, where this guy became, he was the next guy in charge of this country, but he left. And before he left to go prepare to rule, he left everybody with these talents and told them to occupy till I come, to make most of it. And Michele, June, I remember sitting in church, bawling, crying, just like, God, I want to take my ability to make people laugh and use it until Christ returns. I just like, God, I hadn't been great at much, but I know I got this. And I want you to take it and use it for your glory. So when I hear Michele read that stuff, that's the stuff I think about, man. That's what I see. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
I hate doing podcasts with women. All my feminine side.
We just got started too. You just wait, man. You're gonna have getting the boogers out of your mustache.
I'm just as shocked as you are, and that we're friends. I mean, God is so good to us. Oh wait, you meant all the other stuff. All the other stuff. Oh yeah.
All that other stuff. But it is. It's amazing, and it's wonderful to be able to sit there and listen to that and see. And like you said, you know, everybody has a starting point in this. There was a starting point. You had your starting point, and you remember the humble beginnings, and then to be able to go, you know, it's different when you have faith and when you know where these good gifts come from, you know, versus someone who could say, I did this, I did that, I. We know where that gift comes from, and we know, you know, that that's the goodness of the Lord, and it is humbling, and it is exciting to be able to hear all of that. Now, you know, our podcast, it's called Laugh Support, and we really just kind of dive into the kind of support that you had. Really, we'd like to jump back kind of to the beginning. Now, we know you can't, you know, name everybody, and we don't want to leave people out. But when you think about, as you began, obviously the Lord was there with you. But maybe who's some people that He put in place right away that helped you? Guide you as you began this journey into comedy.
So one I would say, man, it was a guy. Let's just Mo Better. Let's start with Mo Better. Mo Better's his name. He was from New York in college, and I ran for Mr. Virginia State University. And I always said, if I ever was in one of those like man pageant, you know, deals for my talent, I would do a monologue. I wasn't doing comedy, but I decided, sure enough, I'm running for Mr. Virginia State University homecoming court, and they were like, "Yeah, you gotta have a talent." Now, I was in the band and all that stuff. I was actually a drum major in college. So I did I did a Martin Lawrence imitation of a character that he did called Jerome. And I did that. And I never forget, Mo Better came. He saw me the next day. He was like, yo, Jerome. He was like, man, listen, dude, last night, man, I was mad. I ain't feel like laughing or nothing. But you came out and you did Jerome. He was like, man, I forgot that I was mad.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, that is it right there. So that was one of the first instances when I started, that thing really started to be awakening in me. And then when I went to seminary, after I graduated Virginia State University, I went to Dallas Theological Seminary, and we had a project where we had to creatively communicate Acts chapter 3, the gate called Beautiful, where Peter and John said, silver and gold have I none, in the name of Jesus Christ, rise and walk. So I was like, I'm going to do a monologue. And so I did this monologue, and my professor, Howard Hendricks, said, he was like, the class stood up, they started clapping.
Nice.
And he was like, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I'm talking about right there. That. And I was like, it was at that moment I was like, I can do this. I can do this full time. And I got to shout out my dad. My dad's a pastor out in Virginia. And for New Year's Eve, we call it Watch Night in the African American church. For Watch Night, New Year's Eve service, we had a talent night. Now, Watch Night is when you go to church New Year's and you pray until the New Year's come. Like, you pray into the New Year. And so my dad was like, man, we're going to be in church for a long time. I want to have a talent night. And I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do another Martin character. And I did Otis. I did a security guard, but I taught a Bible principle with it. And so those are just three right off the bat. I got more, but those are just three.
Michele, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Because I can't get away from the man pageant. So here's how we know. Here's how we know if Jason's a real Christian or not. So in the swimsuit competition, 1 piece or 2 piece, Jason, what were you wearing? That's how we know.
Nothing. I'm just playing that. No, they didn't even have one of those. They didn't have one. Thank God. I was too bashful to be to even take my shirt off. I'm way too social, way too. I don't want to say conservative because then people that starts to divide people. But I'm a goody two shoes.
There it is. That's
I'm
awesome.
pure.
So you had Mo Betta, you had a professor, right? And you had your father,
right?
Kind of speak into you early on and help you. Yeah, 3 men that kind of, and I'm sure like Mo, right? He wasn't thinking this is going to be what fuels this guy to keep trucking. He was just being honest about what you did for him.
You're exactly right.
Yeah,
you're exactly right.
Yeah, and Michele, you were talking about earlier. That kind of leads into Jason's statement that you were telling me about. What you wanted to dive into that.
Yeah, I wanted to know what's the inspiration and the discovery behind I don't live to make people laugh. I make people laugh to help them live. Like, was that something that you discovered early on, or was that statement, because it's so profound, did you figure that out in the last few years? Like, where in your comedy career journey did this come about?
So if we go back to that class, that seminary class, Bible study methods, I called that. I got up. I said, name of this project is called Serious Comedy. You take it how you want to. And the whole idea is that you got these two things. One is laughing. Like, I want people to laugh, but at the same time, I want people to take me serious. I don't want, especially in the Christian circle, especially in the theological academia spheres. It's anytime you laugh, it's a bunch of man. That thing is packed with Pharisees and people who don't, if you laugh, they don't necessarily take you serious. So I wanted to let them know, like, yo, I'm bringing the heat comedically, but I also had, I don't know what my dog did. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but I also wanted them to be able to respect it in a way, like at the onset. And so I think sometimes Christians can be very immature to think that laughing is a sign of immaturity, and that's a weakness that people have. That's immature, that idea. So I called it serious comedy, and then one day Michael Jr. and I were on the road driving, and I never forget, he was like, man, why do you say serious comedy? And I would say, presenting a serious message seasoned with comedy. That sounds so whack. It sounds good, but that is so corny.
Right.
It's so churchy.
Yes. Yeah.
And thank God for good friends that it just called. He was like, dude, why do you say that? He was like, dude, it sounds like like the struggle that you coming out of, just all this church baggage, religious baggage. And he said this, he was like, man, he said, the way that it works, you want to put the funny first. So if you were to take that, and I don't suggest that you do, it would be comedy serious as opposed to serious comedy. And I was like, yeah, I do need to come up with something, but what is it that I want to do? And I was like, man, so I came up with this, looking at what I did, I came up with this phrase, and that's it. Like, man, I don't live to make people laugh. Like, I don't need your laughter to complete me. You can laugh at me. You don't have to laugh at me or with me, brother. Like, it doesn't complete me. I don't need it. I don't like, and some comedians do. Like, that's not us as believers where we should be. It's, man, I'm complete in Christ. So your laughter doesn't make me. So I don't live for that. However, I do make you laugh so that I can help you live and to inspire you. So that's where it comes from.
I think we saw that during COVID, as I think it revealed a lot of what was in people's hearts and where their identity landed whenever the comedy side of it was shut down, and you couldn't be out there giving people an opportunity to laugh. But I think that it really highlighted those who were there to get the laugh and not give the laugh.
Absolutely. Hey,
go ahead.
Keep going. I'm just about to hold on. Can somebody?
Okay, here's the reality. Okay, so when we're doing these things, we're here at home, right? My husband's one job is to keep my dog, keep my dogs, like make them behave, right? And keep them out of the room. Y'all don't even know. A few minutes ago, he was literally on his hands and knees with a plate full of cinnamon rolls, trying to bribe my dog, who is on my feet right now, to come out. Like, he crawled in with a plate of cinnamon rolls, trying to get the dog to come out. But it's all good. It's all good. We're just we're doing it here. It's real life. But yeah, so the identity, a lot of people hit crisis mode. Not necessarily over the financial part of it. It was the fact that that's, people say that here's Jason Earls, he's a comedian, he's a comedian, he's a comedian, he's a comedian. And then suddenly he's not a comedian because nobody's doing comedy, right? Yeah. Suddenly what you've been identifying yourself as was gone. And it really, I think, tripped a lot of people up and made them have to kind of reflect and go, okay, what am I? Who am I? What do I see myself as? And that was a big deal. And I think for me, there was just that reminder in 2020 is what if tomorrow God said, never again, you'll never go on stage again. Do you trust me? Is that who you are? Or, is that what you do for me? Right.
Yeah, I love it. It's Colossians 2. It's And sorry if you watching and I'm sounding a little bit preachy. I'm not. I'm just explaining you just the dynamics of how Jason Earls thinks. In Colossians 2, it says the fullness of God dwelled in bodily form. Talking about Jesus. And then he says, and in him you have been made complete. So the idea is that all of God is in this Jesus, and then this dude has completed you. So God in Jesus, and now you're in him. Like nothing else matters. Like it like I can fail, I can lose everything, I can lose my family. That would hurt, but life still, that doesn't end me, because I am in him and he's completed me. And that, but so that's it. Like, coronavirus, whether it's the Delta variant, whatever, whether it doesn't matter. Whether it's people booing me, drunk people cussing me out at a show, it's like, I'm good. Now, that's not an excuse for me not to work hard and be excellent in my craft. But it also, there's this undercurrent that actually pushes me as opposed to the jokes.
Michele, at the LOLGCA, Jason spoke. He talked about, and I said recently on another broadcast, that how freeing it was to listen to what he had to say. He talked about the fact that we aren't perfect. As comedians, we get on stage and we want to have that perfect set. We want to write it and rewrite it, and you tweak the joke until you feel like you've got it perfect. And I've had projects that I've been pulling back, and Michele knows she's taken this journey because she truly is my laugh support. We're there for each other throughout these things. But as you remember Jason saying, it's okay to not be perfect. Like, he has an ebook, right, that's out. And I believe you were talking about the ebook, and he was saying, okay, he could work on that for 7 years and try to make sure it's exactly perfect. But then when it comes out and there's one typo, he's like, okay, I'm not perfect. Neither is my book. Like it is what it is. Tell us about that ebook, because I loved it, man. I love being able to read that.
Thanks. So it's called Life Cycles. And so, like, this morning, my 10-year-old son asked me, could we ride bikes? So we got up, and that's what we did. So in teaching him how to ride a bike, when I let him go for that, like the first time, it dawned on me, like the Lord spoke to me, like, you're teaching him how to ride a bike, but the principles apply to you. The same thing that you're telling him you need to do in your life. And so, like, life is literally like riding a bike. Like, we learn how to ride a bike, like do a certain thing, a purpose, a mission. But then after we learn how to ride that bike, God gives us another bike. Do y'all remember y'all first bicycle?
Yeah. It was a blue one, and we lived on a hill on the corner, and you could just put your feet out and just go straight down. It was great.
Absolutely. But how old were you when you got that bike?
Well, it was a hand-me-down. So
come on.
I started riding it when I was, I think, 4.
Okay. And so by the time you turned 9, did you still have that bike?
Probably would have, except I left it by the curb and the garbage guys took it. And I was like, no.
So you mean to tell me you'd have rode the same bike when you were 4 and when you're 9, 8?
Yeah, because it was blue and the seat would go up a little bit.
Oh, that's right. You short. My bad. Yeah.
I think Michele could still ride that bike at this point.
So,
yes.
And I will tell you, Jason, that the bike I rode at 4 was not the bike that I was riding when I was 14.
Right. So here's the thing. It's as much joy and excitement that one bicycle brought you. It came point for you to go to another bike. And so what God was showing me with my son is like, man, like, you learn how to do certain things great at one level, but then when I take you to another level, give you another ministry or another purpose, or reveal another purpose to you, you have to start learning to ride again. But the principles don't apply. I mean, the principles still apply.
There you go.
Yeah, right. The same principles still apply. So it's life is like riding a bike, and it's the idea is looking at the kingdom of God like a little child, like riding a bike.
Mm.
And so that's what
Good.
we go through, and it's a lot of fun. I think it's a fun short read that's very practical.
Mm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it's
love the
really
fact,
good. It's really good.
like, when you start out small, you're on a tricycle, and then you move up to the two-wheeler with the little side wheels, right? And then you get the training wheels off. And then when you get older, you go back to a three-wheeler,
Yeah.
but it's got a basket for your groceries.
Yeah, there it is.
That's
There it is.
funny.
Well, Jason, just real quick before we bounce out of here, we always try to give a little bit of advice to comedians. If you think back to your, laugh support, maybe somebody who gave you a little nugget of information that has helped you along the way that maybe even you still use today. Is there something that comes to mind that you would put out there and give as advice to up and coming comedians as they start their journey?
Yeah. So um, I'm gonna give three quick ones. Sorry.
You're good. No, do what you got to do, man.
I remember I handed this preacher a card that said serious comedy, and he held it. He was like, "What's the Lord saying to me? What's the Lord saying to me? Hey," and I was like, "Oh, what does it do?" He said, "As serious as you are about God, gotta be serious about your comedy."
Mm.
And I was like, was he just trying to make something up to tell me? But I was like, yeah, it's what the idea is that it's seek first God, seek first the kingdom of God. And whatever's necessary for you to do the things that God wants you to do, he's gonna bring it to you.
Mm.
Uh and so that's been one of my mantras is like, hey, I need to, again, it's not all about laughter. Laughter is a great part of it, but I need to pursue God most of all. And God will let me know, when to mention him and when not to mention him.
Right.
The other thing is, man, how you present yourself is how people will take you. So, man, present yourself well.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing an interview, make sure your dog is not like running haywire, so you don't gotta stop. Or make sure you got the best. Not saying everything has to be excellent and perfect, but make sure it's the best that you can do. And lastly, and I just got to bring this third one because it didn't get to it in the story. In terms of life support, I would say listen to your godly wife, and because I can't talk about laugh support without mentioning my wife Terry. Man, I'm so grateful for that woman. I would not be where I am today if God didn't give me her. God gave me favor to do comedy when he gave me my wife.
Yes. Yeah. And man, what a difference that makes. What a difference that makes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That woman told me, she was like, I would eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. She don't like peanut butter. She's like, I'll eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and tuna fish if it means you serving your purpose and doing comedy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's great. I ain't gonna let you eat no tuna fish, no peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's one of my favorites. I would not make her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. She's like, you know what? I just want a little snack. Can you make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I'm like, nope. Because for me, that symbolizes her sacrificing.
Oh, yes. Yes. Man, that's awesome. Well, Jason, we so appreciate you being on the podcast. We would love to have you back again sometime. Is there anything you want to promote before we pop off here? Anything special you'd like to bring up?
Yes. So I do have that book, Life Cycles. You can go to jasonearls.com/life cycles. Or just, man, I'm really amping up some videos. So if you can go to my YouTube page, like, subscribe, hit that button. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of content about family. So yeah, even talk about some heavy stuff. My wife and I miscarried twice, and we just put a video out of her telling her story. So if you know anybody who's miscarried and just needs some encouragement, send them to my YouTube page, and there's a video there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Michele, any closing thoughts?
You know what? This was so full, so full, Jason. I did have another question
Yes.
So it's not a closing thought anymore.
That's great.
What is a comedy
Familyologist. So again, here we go talking a lot laugh support again. My wife, Michael Jr. and Michael Jr.'s wife, Ebony, we were sitting down drinking some coffee. And I was like, hey y'all, help me out. Y'all are the people who are closest to me. I got these goals, these desires that I have, kind of what I was talking about at LOL, Junebug. And I was like, I've got these dreams, these desires, and I don't do them. Like, 6 months goes by and they're still just desires. By the way, here's one of the guy who discipled me. He told me this just yesterday. We're talking about vision. He said, a vision without a plan is just a dream. A dream without action is just a nightmare, or a plan without action is just a nightmare. So I was having a bunch of nightmares, or dreams, because it was more dreams because I had no plan. I had vision, but no plan. And so Michael, my wife, and Michael's wife, they were just like, what is it that you want to do? Okay, we'll come up with a name for it. Come up with a name that describes what it is that you want to do with this specific group of dreams. And so I went, and then we kind of set some boundaries. We set, I had to accomplish these goals by a certain time. And if I didn't reach these goals, I had to do two things. One, I had to call my mother-in-law and tell her, hey, I'm not the husband or the father that you think I am, that I portrayed myself to be. I can't even buy groceries for my family. Can I borrow $500 to buy my family some food? I had to say it just like that. The other one was, I had to take my family and spend a night in a homeless shelter, and I couldn't explain anything to my kids. All I could say is, we have to go stay here. And I had to do that for a night. So it's, all right, you say that you want to accomplish these things. You go do that. So I dug deep, Michele. What do I want to do? What do I want to call it? I want to talk about comedy, and I want to help people understand family. So I'm like, the comedy familyologist. There it is. And I made those videos. Started making videos about family. Comedy familyologist.
Wow. So far you have not had to make a phone call or live in a homeless shelter, correct? Yeah.
So it was just that set of goals. You best believe I knocked them out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is true laugh support, though, to have somebody to help you with accountability, because it really is, when there's no deadline, there's no moment, there's no accountability, then there's no motivation.
Yep.
That's amazing.
And sometimes a lot of us enjoy talking about desire, especially if you lack confidence or have some like insignificance or worthy issues. The fact that God's called you to big stuff, you feel good just talking about it, and not necessarily doing anything about it.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Good. That's awesome, Michele. I can see Michelle's wheels turning in her head about a few projects I haven't done, and she's so creative. I'm afraid of what she would come up with as my punishment to the phone calls and the things I would have to do. That's awesome. Well, Jason, once again, we thank you so much for being on here. Michele, are you going to scroll across there one more time for us? Where we can find Jason. It's Jason Earls.
Yes, EARLS.
EARLS on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You guys, it's been a pleasure today. I so appreciate you, Jason. You've been for Michele and I both, I think I could say that you've been laugh support for us. We love you, we respect you, and we appreciate your time today. Michele, that's it, my friend. That's it for this episode of Laugh Support. I'm June Colson.
I'm Michele VanDusen.
And this has been
Another episode.
You add something every single time. Another episode of Live Support. Bye, y'all.
Bye.